This is a Dave Portnoy thing. I don't know if you've heard some of the details.
I literally only know what you have told me off camera.
Okay,
I've done no primary research.
So separately, I was considering, if I do make a video comeback, doing an exploration, kind of like I did with OnlyFans, of why do some people survive cancels and why do other people not?
I welcome you making that video.
I don't know that anyone would be interested on our main channel because it doesn't have applicable takeaways.
It doesn't matter. Neither does the OnlyFans or Sociopaths video. Some stuff is just fascinating. Some stuff is
interesting. Yeah, so I don't know the answer yet. I have some ideas. But anyway, so the short of the Dave Portnoy story, which I don't know all the details, is that Business Insider apparently spends 8 months, and this is more from Dave's perspective, preparing a piece. He says hit piece, but like researching deeply into him, contacting all different people, contacting women that he's worked with, like people that are tagged in photos with him, like looking for dirt, which I think is suspect to start. You know what I mean?
What's the message they were sending?
The message they were sending?
You said they DM'd a bunch of people.
Hey, I'm doing... Some people showed some... Hey, I'm doing... And again, these could be fabricated. I'm doing a piece on Dave. Like, would you have time to talk? They don't tip their hand in the reach out message, but it's like, why the fuck are you contacting random employees who have nothing to... Like, there's a case that you're trying to build that you started with. Like, you decided that you were the prosecution and that this needed to happen with regards to this. And also with a particular narrow band of things. Like, they weren't looking for, like, I don't know, is Dave Portnoy mean to his male employees? they just weren't interested. So
might be.
Maybe they did. Maybe they looked for all of it. Maybe because there was a Tony Robbins hit piece that was just like, by the way, he also did X, Y, and Z. So there were two main allegations as far as I understand. One woman who hooked up with him says she was, I believe, screaming no for it to stop, which he denies outright, categorically. And another one who was, I think, 20 years old, and after she slept with him, hooked up with him, got depressed and like bad depressed. May have had to go to a hospital. I don't quote me on that. And then so he goes on and defends himself on Twitter or whatever. But the part that I thought was interesting was actually the second piece that was included. And I think this is dangerous for women to say, okay, so here's someone who's 20, he's older. You know, the argument goes there's power imbalances. He didn't treat her well. She got depressed after the interaction. But they don't make a compelling case that there wasn't consent. They don't make it, like, in fact, he shows texts from her that are explicitly sexual, that are, the impression that I got from it is that he treated this as a casual encounter. And she was like, oh my God, it's Dave Portnoy, like super excited. And possibly as a result of that and so many other factors in her life, was very upset when he didn't continue to pursue her after having slept with her.
One time?
I don't, might have been, there was a text, I don't know how many times, there was a text that he says, do you miss my dick yet? Like, they were clearly sexy texting after that. I don't know how many times.
Did she say she did?
Yes. Pretty damning evidence against compulsion or anything like that. And the argument is, I don't know what the argument is, but the idea that
he
is responsible for her sadness as a result of their interaction, which at the time was consensual, is, I think, the most patriarchal thing that you can argue. Yeah. It's like, no, what he needs to do is police her feelings because he's a man and she's just a woman. I feel like that same line of argumentation takes away her agency. You would probably have to say she shouldn't be voting, because if she can't make decisions about who she has sex with and the repercussions of that, how could she possibly be trusted to elect the president of the United States of America? And this is not what I don't believe that that's the case, but I do believe that two things are possible. He could have not been nice to her. He could have treated her callously. She could have, been upset by it. And that can primarily be her responsibility, and not something that means that people should stop subscribing to Barstool Sports and ruin his life over. And so I think it's patriarchal is the word that came to my head. It was like the definition of the patriarchy, that he needs to be in charge of her emotional well-being and that she can't make decisions that potentially upset her.
Well, I think especially because you will tend to see that in one direction.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think anybody thought that Ariana Grande abused her power when she got Pete Davidson to fall in love with her and then called off their wedding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like he was suicidally depressed over it.
I think these are
beautiful
fair points.
and wealthy and famous. She's more powerful than him in every way. Like,
not physically, but
sure. I was thinking like looks, fame, wealth.
Mm-hmm. Well, now
he was
apparently Pete Davidson's got mad game, so that's a separate story.
Well, listen, I don't feel bad for him. He actually doesn't. Even though he was depressed over it, he's like, he has nothing bad to say about her. But I'm just saying,
it would have been improper to say she promised me X, Y, and Z. She hurt. Like, I'm hurt. I got depressed after. Therefore, that is a comment on her behavior,
on the matriarchy.
Yes. Or no, on her behavior. Like, that is an indictment of something that she did. She should have wielded her power over me more justly. And I think in these power conversations, we forget that at every instance of power, as far as I can tell, is where somebody has something that somebody else wants. And that can be literal access to their naked body. That can be money. That can be all sorts of things. And these power dynamics exist. And as far as I can tell, I think every single human interaction that has ever occurred. And there are some that we want to, I think, legally or socially control against, like your boss.
Yeah, I was going to say there are some that you do want the law to intervene with, and I think it's totally appropriate to.
But I think, given that, in my view, every single human interaction involves a power dynamic, we don't want to intervene in most of these. And people instead need to learn how to deal with their desire to have the attention, money, sex that other people could offer them in a way that does not cause them to make decisions that harm themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you go the other direction. I think there's some states where you can legally have quote-unquote consensual sex with a police officer, like after he's arrested you before you get to the police station. It's like, no, let's make that illegal. Like, let's say like no consensual sex. Because then what was happening was
wait a second, is that true?
Yeah, and then cops were raping people and then saying it was
that's
consensual.
not true.
Yeah. This is a thing.
You can get arrested and fall in love. On the
in some
way to
states, back in at some point in history, like recent history, maybe not as of today, but so there are places where we want to say no. Government says no consenting in this situation. It's always a power abuse if it's a police or your boss or whatever it might be. It's also weird though because the boss thing, which everybody's I think pretty on board with in terms of saying this is a power imbalance and sexual
one that we want to control,
shouldn't have happen between boss and employee when the boss controls the employee's pay or ability to continue at that place of work. We're like, yeah, that's bad. Except for sometimes.
And here's the problem with it. It's like, except for sometimes when everybody winds up being happy as a result of it for a couple of years. Meaning like Bill Gates marries Melinda Gates, no problem with the power imbalance. Until they divorce, at which point you started hearing stories that Bill was sexually inappropriate in the office. And those, I think, didn't make it very far because it's like a little crazy. But I agree with you. This isn't confronted so often. It's like it's a power imbalance, except when they get married, everybody claps and is super happy that the vice president married the analyst or something
also
like that.
Only like some of the time. I don't know. It's a weird dynamic because then if a rock star or an athlete has sex with a fan, you're not like, what? What about the power abuse? It's like, no, of course they did. That's what we expect rock stars and athletes to do.
But with YouTubers, it's a massive issue.
Or Twitch streamers or whoever.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think, and this is, I guess my point is that with
we
power,
haven't quite figured out as a society how we feel about when it's okay to use fame and money to make yourself more attractive and when it's not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we haven't sussed it out. We do not have a principle that says it's never okay or it's always okay. It's like, well, we'll kind of like judge it based on how weird you look or how weird you make us feel. And also if you end up getting married or not.
How quickly after the interaction the person is upset. So one of the what was I going to say? There's this type of argument that I just noticed that I'm hearing a lot where it's just like a true statement is made, but it's very narrow. So like, there's a power imbalance when Dave Portnoy sleeps with this person, and that's not okay. And it's like, I agree with the first half, but if power balances in relationships aren't okay, we can't have relationships because like every relationship starts when somebody wants something from someone else, whether that's them to like them back or to be naked with them or to go on dates that are really fun, that they have this unique way of like making going to the park the most exciting thing in the world. And you just want to be around that. And I felt, we had a conversation with, like over a year ago at this point with the Rational Male, Rolo guy. And I felt similarly where he was like, women are irrational and women are like this. And I was like, yes. And so are men. And I feel like, the narrow focus, it's just a common tack that I'm starting to notice is that a true statement is made and then a broad implication about how that is wrong or bad or needs to be uniquely dealt with. It's like, no, open, like this is a much larger problem than you're confronting. So that's all. Hope that you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to see more like this and have us do more podcasts, we are 100% funded by our generous patrons. And if you'd like to contribute, there's a link in the description and we'll have one pop up on the screen right here so that we can do more podcasts where we have fun conversations and hopefully some deep ones like this. Either way, hope that you enjoyed the video and I will see you in the next one.